Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you are a returning viewer or subscriber, big welcome back. If you are brand new to the channel and this is the first ever driver deep dive video you have watched, welcome to you also. You might not know that I actually allow you, the viewer, to pretty much decide what happens with this series. So it came out of an idea that was suggested in the comment section of one of my earlier videos where folks wanted to know more about drivers and kind of what they get up to off the track. So literally all you have to do is to drop a comment in the comments below and just let me know which driver or maybe drivers that you would like me to include in another driver deep dive video, and that's literally exactly what will happen. So yeah, simple as that. If you want to see the videos that I have already done in this series and which drivers have already been included, you can check out the driver deep dive playlist on my channel. I'm going to have that up here somewhere for you to click on. And we've been kind of on a roll lately with the younger drivers, and that's essentially going to continue in this week's video. I'm really excited to get into the detail on this one. And before I do that though, make sure you are subscribed and make sure you hit the notification bell, because then you will never ever again have to miss out when one of these videos comes out. And I really, where is the downside? So we're starting off this video with a chat about Lando Norris, and if you've seen my video about what do F1 drivers do between races, you'll know that Lando is a very busy guy. He has a lot going on off the track, and probably the thing that he's most known for, especially in the last couple of years, is quadrant racing. And essentially this is a group that was formed out of Lando's love for playing games and streaming on Twitch with his friends, and it's formed in 2020 and has now obviously been running for a while, and it was formed in partnership with Veloce, but Lando is kind of the founder and the boss, as they like to call him jokingly in the videos. And it's expanded way beyond gaming now as well, so they actually have their own merch line, apparel, like fully designed. It's all very kind of high quality stuff, and they've got, you know, every time they release a new line, it pretty much immediately sells out. So there is a lot of demand for this stuff, and I think a lot of that comes down to how much particularly younger F1 fans relate to Lando, because obviously gaming is a huge thing nowadays, and not just gaming but streaming as well, as particularly has, you know, it's something that draws huge numbers and really kind of passionate fans. So he's really kind of capitalizing on that market. And in addition, they also have a YouTube channel, so they have up above actually 400,000 subscribers now. And to the credit of everyone else in the quadrant kind of group, Lando isn't even in every single one of the videos, so they are kind of attracting an audience based off the other folks in the group as well, which is really nice to see, especially given that a lot of the time he's just simply not around. So in fairness to them, they are really capitalizing on what they kind of set out to achieve, and it's pretty cool to see him running something like that at such a young age, and sort of bringing, similar to what Lewis Hamilton did kind of later on in his career, bringing his loves off the track into, you know, a product essentially, and something that he's running as a business. Let's take a look at Lando's Instagram. So he's pretty active on there, regardless of whether it's, you know, the F1 season is in full swing or whether it's winter break or summer break. He's pretty active on Instagram, and he made a couple of pretty big announcements in 2021, the first of which being that he launched Lando Norris Karting, or LN Karting. So that was a really big deal for him. He's also quite young to have a karting team or a karting kind of outfit, and he announced that back in September of last year and had a launch event in Italy and has run a couple of different things. He often will repost the young drivers that are involved in that setup as well on his story, just to kind of keep the buzz going about them. But it's definitely really cool to see him setting that up so young, and it's going to be interesting to see sort of how that evolves and how his involvement with it develops as his career continues. And the second big announcement that I did want to flag that he kind of posted on Instagram back in November is that he is joining the ranks of the Monaco-based F1 drivers. If you are anyway familiar with F1 drivers and their lives off the track, there are a lot of them living in Monaco for many reasons. You could speculate probably for days on them, but Lando is officially moving to Monaco. Obviously he's a British driver and had previously been based near the McLaren factory, but is now going to be living in Monaco. Something else that you'll notice on Lando's Instagram that's not at all race related or not at all related to anything motorsport is his, I would say, newly found love of golf. So I spoke about this again as a more general topic in my video about what F1 drivers do in their spare time, because so many of the drivers on the grid are into golf, like so many of them, and Lando is no exception to that. He has, you'll particularly see in the last 12 months or so, he's gotten really into it, and you'll often see him posting about either playing, practicing, all of the above on his Instagram. So I mean, who knows, maybe there's gonna have to be at some point a shootout for like the best F1 golfer. Would we watch that? I don't know. Would we? Something that I wanted to mention, because it is extremely important in my opinion, is how outspoken Lando Norris has been about mental health, and not just his own mental health, where he has spoken publicly about suffering from anxiety, but also just mental health in general and the stigma around it, particularly in men's sports where it just doesn't get spoken about often enough at all. So he's been a really big advocate in McLaren's partnership with the UK-based mental health charity Mind. And to be completely honest, I actually think that this is outside of his day job as an F1 driver. I actually think that this is the most important work that Lando is doing. It's such a huge issue, especially in men's sports, and I think the more people that we have like Lando who are publicly speaking out about their own struggles with it and how they deal with it, the better. I think it can only go further and further towards kind of breaking down that stigma of toxic masculinity in sports, in male sports. And I also think that, you know, F1 drivers, sometimes we put them on a pedestal because naturally they seem like sort of real life superheroes because of what they do, but actually their job, if you dial it back, is extremely high stress in terms of the environment and what is expected of them and the kind of huge expectations that they place on themselves. So I think, again, the more drivers in F1 alone that speak out about this, the better, and just generally it's in sports across the globe as well, the better it would be. Okay, let's move on to George Russell. I put these two together because I feel like people connect them a lot anyway. Like, they are quite good friends and they are also obviously both British drivers, roughly the same age. But I think that George's personality, or at least outwardly, is quite different to Lando's in a couple of different ways. He's much more sort of like chill than Lando. I think Lando has a lot of like young chaotic energy, and George sort of comes across as a like an old soul from you know what I can gather. He's very mature kind of when he's speaking to the media, very measured, relaxed most of the time, except for that time with Valtteri, but we all have our moments. And I think he's also sort of a bit more private with his social media and his kind of personal life off the track. He'll definitely chat about things that he's into, so he loves golf. You'll see a lot of holiday photos on his Instagram. He, like 99% of the time, from what I can tell, when there's any kind of break from F1, he will travel. A lot of the drivers do that, but he will often post photos from his travels when he is not on the track. So that's always interesting to see where he ends up globetrotting. And he is, you know, pretty active, not as active as Lando. He, you know, posts a couple of photos from over the Christmas holidays being at home and stuff like that, but definitely a bit more quiet and a bit more chilled than Lando is, for sure. Another sport besides golf that George is a big fan of is football. So he for sure posted some pics about England being in the Euros, he's posted pics at England football games. And in terms of clubs, because you all know if you've watched the series before, I always try to find out for you who the F1 drivers support. You all love to know, so I do my best. Luckily, George is very public about who he supports, and that would be Wolves. They are an English club, and his dad apparently actually has a season ticket to the club, so he tries to go to as many games as he possibly can. Obviously, George is extremely limited in his ability to do that, given that he's normally traveling the world, but he is a Wolves fan, and that is a fact. Okay, that is all I've got for you on today's driver deep dive video. I am hoping that we find out a bit more about George Russell this year when he's hopefully up there doing more interviews than he did previously, being in a Mercedes car and everything like that, because his section was definitely shorter, and I think, you know, maybe he is just one of those drivers that doesn't want to overshare, and that's absolutely fine. But definitely lots more to find out about on Lando than on George for this one. As you know, as I mentioned at the start of this video, it is you, the viewer, who decides who comes up next in this series. So please do leave a comment down below about which driver you would like to see me do the next video on, and give this video a thumbs up if you found out something that you didn't know before about Lando or George. And until the next video, take care.